Welcome to Colorado Soul Stories, showcasing changemakers and creatives, past and present, who have helped to make Colorado not just a pretty place to behold, but a soulful place to be. I'm your host, Mama Jill, longtime Colorado resident, former teacher, and freelance journalist. Let's get started with our next episode.
It ain't gonna take away our home, my home, my home, your home, your home. It ain't gonna take away our home.
In this next episode, I sit down with my friend Chris White. Chris is a marine biologist turned community builder who has established Yurts at Poncha Pass, a unique sustainable living hub tucked high in the Rockies near Salida, Colorado. Chris has combined off-grid architecture, hands-on workshops, affordable housing solutions, and community economics like time banking into a living experiment in how we might live differently. We'll explore how he went from studying wave energy to pounding tires for an Earthship, why he believes community building is the key to sustainability, and how his work may offer a blueprint for small communities across the country. Whether you're an eco-builder, a curious traveler, or someone looking for alternatives to the usual path, this conversation invites you to imagine what it might look like to live more consciously, cooperatively, and connected to place. Hi there, it's Mama Jill from Colorado Soul Stories, and I'm up at Yurts at Poncha Pass, on the top of Poncha Pass near Salida, Colorado, with my friend Chris White. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming out.
And thanks for having
fun.
me.
Yeah, that's great.
I just had a tour of the Earthship, and I've known Chris almost as long as he's been starting this project. And when I last saw it, it was still kind of a pile of tires that were being filled with dirt. And I saw over Instagram all the progress, and I got to see up close and personal. It's this beautiful structure with passive solar a little bit there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the concept of an Earthship completely is passive solar.
Right? Yeah.
Passive solar, thermal mass. And that gets your heating and cooling taken care of pretty much.
So as I've learned about the Earthship, I've just been like, why don't we make more of these? But what I want to first talk about, how you decided to do this, how to start a sustainable community up here in the mountains.
Yeah, I guess the short of that would be that I started looking for a house to buy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was working on the ambulance in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and living down there, and everything was just really out of my price range. It basically was this idea that I would have to commit 30, 40 years of my life to paying it off, doing this job that I didn't really think I had that much of a runway left of doing.
Okay.
Anyway, the numbers work. I think currently our whole housing system is kind of broken in that regard for most people. And now they're talking about 50-year mortgages.
Are they really?
Yeah, they just started talking about that this week, and all the bankers think it's a great idea.
Of course they do.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my God.
The offer right now is give us the best 30, 40 years of your life, and then you can have a box to live in. And a lot of those boxes are, laminates and OSB, and then this idea of fake brick or fake something. And then you're paying all of these utilities for the rest of your life,
Right.
Heating, cooling, electric, water, sewer, plus your property tax and whatnot. And it just, for me, it was very much, I'm a biologist as a background, and I thought, I think I can hack this a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was looking around for properties, and I found that on Zillow, at least, raw land was just priced differently. It just felt like you got a lot more for the idea of something.
Right.
And then I was like, well, okay, if I can buy a piece of raw land, I can live in a trailer, I can live in a tent for a while until I figure it out.
Yeah.
And that kind of started the whole snowball thing.
Okay.
Thought I was going to live in an Airstream for a while, but then those were overpriced at the time. And everyone's selling these shells for $20,000, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I just kept looking, and then I ended up taking the Earthship Academy in Taos in 2016. And my question to myself was, is there a housing type that makes sense? You know, and could I build something myself, not being a builder or a carpenter or really having any experience besides, you know, the occasional shop thing, you know. I didn't even take shop in high school. I didn't get offered that.
You should have gone to my preschool because we start with a hammer and nails.
Yeah, right.
Get those skills going.
I think before I went to that, I maybe, you know, 100 nails in my life. I don't know.
Sure.
Basically, though, the
That's
point
no
is
crime.
that, yeah, my life was mostly biology and mostly emergency medicine and just other things. I found one guy who had built one type of Earthship. It made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
I was like, okay, this is a very simple, you know, 3 walls, your north, your east, and your west as tire walls, and then just a single sloped pitch towards the front, and then a bunch of glass. And it just made a lot of sense. And I think he built it for, you know, like 40 grand or something.
Wow.
And that was his home.
Yeah.
And, you know, 40 grand versus, I guess, 350 or 400 at the time, which now
it's
is
way more.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Just was, I thought, you know, if people are going to pay me minimum wage to work on an ambulance, I think I can pay myself time to basically build my own home.
Plus, the Earthship really checks a lot of boxes as far as the carbon neutral kind of
Yeah, we're using
earth friendly.
a ton of recycled materials, mostly tires, right? So it's about I think there's about 1,000 tires in this one up the road. There are some new materials that you can or cannot use. But yeah, trying to use a lot of the materials that I can find. I did do a new roof, and the glass is all double paned, tempered. But it was designed to be a PDR, which is a patio door replacement. So you're also trying to design things that are standard.
And keep in the warmth.
Yeah. So a lot of Earthships are very eclectic. And I think part of the reasons a lot of them are for sale for so much money is they put in these vigas. A lot of it's New Mexico architecture, and Kiva fireplaces and vigas is a very strong New Mexico flair. But it's very expensive, and putting whole tree trunks across your roof is a lot.
Yeah.
You need a crane. You need someone to deliver these giant tree trunks. It just gets to this idea of complexity.
Is that more of a traditional style, or has that become just more of an aesthetic, the big whole tree?
I think it was traditional,
Okay.
and now it's become aesthetic.
Yeah.
So if you go into like hotels and things like that, you'll see a lot of it. Same with like Latias and whatnot.
Okay.
But so part of my goal was, okay, let's build a house that's affordable and also simple.
Yeah.
So if we can, the simple aspect was specifically for myself in a large way, because I'm a biologist and not really a builder. So I always try and keep things as simple as possible. You can add your flair with lamps or art or whatever you want to do.
You've got the glass bottle windows.
Yeah, so, you know, wine bottles you're choosing to put in the wall. That's, you know, sure, there's art in that.
I thought they were very pretty.
Right. But there's a lot of people that need a lot of flair in the building, I guess, and that just adds a lot of cost.
Okay.
And so not only was it trying to build something that's simple and economical, but it could be as an example for other people to say, wait, you know, I too could build my own home.
Take it into
I
your
too
hands.
can. Yeah, because, you know, if you can build your own home, and yeah, this is my 4th summer working on it, and I didn't really work on it this summer.
Really? Oh, you were gone.
Yeah, for about 3.5 months, I got a job opportunity that took me away, and some travel that I haven't done in a while. And then the first 2.5 summers were mostly pounding tires, and those were 2.5 hours a day every morning, kind of just getting a workout in and getting that done.
So to clarify, sometimes you do that alone, perhaps,
Yeah.
and other times.
Other times with volunteers, or I run workshops in the spring, fall. We just finished our 12th workshop, I believe,
Wow.
this fall. And people's ability to come here and put in some sweat equity, that to me is worth more than charging them a fee.
Mm-hmm.
And these are also the individuals who are trying to figure out how to build their own housing.
Yeah.
So we need to work to try and support
Share
that
the
effort.
knowledge.
And there's always avenues like this, podcasts or whatnot, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get more into the media myself, kind of keep an arm's length away from it. But ultimately, if we're going to get this to people to make decisions for themselves on taking charge in their own life, it's just part of the process.
You gotta get it out there.
Yeah. So, yeah, this process took 4 summers, but most people will spend their whole life, like we were talking about, to pay off a mortgage, 30, 40 years, to pay off a house. And, yeah, there's a lot of sweat equity and some cost here, but, as between the time and the money, it certainly just makes a lot more sense than 30 years.
I sure think it does. I mean, I can't think of anything negative about it. It might take a little longer, but it's something that's going to last. I remember, so I had Chris come to I did a teenage writing group a couple summers ago, and we wrote about environmental things, and I had one student interview Chris, and then all the people that the kids wrote about came to an event where their parents came, and we shared what we learned. And I remember when you were up there sharing about the community here, a little boy said something like, could the Earthship get through a hurricane? And this, I will remember this forever, because I think you said, yeah, way better than a regularly built house.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's an earth berm on 3 sides of the building. There's 150 tons of mass in the tire wall. And then you have hurricane clips across all the trusses holding the roof to the building. So, yeah, I believe it's actually a house that should be designed for the idea of climate mitigation and the arrival of climate change. Whether people are building in the Midwest and worried about tornadoes or hurricanes. Also fires. It's very fireproof in that regard. It's got a metal roof.
Yeah.
And then it's surrounded by dirt. So it's quite difficult to see something like an Earthship get burned down.
Might have a little damage, but not the same type of damage as your average house, I would assume.
Yeah, when we build these OSB stick frame homes, we're talking about industrial glue and wood chips, and they're all next to each other. We're getting this situation now where we have these wildland fires. We're having this urban interface situation where entire...
Yeah, witnessed that near Boulder, and I had a couple of friends that lived in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago, and then in LA this last, about January, so 10 months ago.
Yeah.
And you're losing 400, 1,000, 2,000 homes at a time. It's absolutely devastating. And who knows if people have the right insurance or enough insurance to get back. And there's still this whole idea of paying off a mortgage.
And building back the same kind of thing the same thing could happen again.
Right. So knowing that this is such a big issue and that, a home is kind of where most people are trying to put their efforts towards, just so that they have a place to call their own and where they can live with their family and raise kids. I don't think we talk about housing enough in the regard of, well, this is how it's always been done. So therefore, 30-year mortgage or else, because there's nothing else, right? There's no other kind of things happening.
It's one extreme or the other, which, Earthships have been around for a long time now. I mean, so I'm like, it's not that funky anymore. Like, why can't we, spread this around a little bit more?
Yeah, so they've been around for a long time, and they do require a certain amount of, sweat equity. And so actually when I got out onto this piece of land, I didn't start building the Earthship right away, because I knew that was going to be like the long kind of project for me, and it'd take 4 years, and we're on my 4th summer. So
you knew it would take about that long? Is that pretty average?
Well, I just knew it was going to take a while, and I didn't have any housing. So how long was I going to be in a tent? And you can't really do that during the winters. So that's when I came up with the idea of building the Yurts.
Yeah.
And the Yurts are a very kind of elegant housing in many regards. They have windows on the south side, so we get the passive solar still. So we're still taking advantage of that heating aspect during the day. But they were really affordable in the sense of their cost per unit. I think it came out at the time to $60,000
For all
for each unit.
60,000 each.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we're talking about, well, we're full solar, and then we have 1,000-gallon buried propane tank and a septic and leach field and a well. So all of those utility costs are divided across the 4 units, and then each of these yurts has a full kitchen, shower with hot water, and
I mean, once you get in
toilet
them,
and-
if you've never been in one, it's like a round house. You know?
yeah, it's a tiny home.
Yeah.
And that was important for me to achieve that, so that when we did have people come out, especially for the nightly rentals we do during the summer, that they enjoy it for a night and they say, okay, let's go back home and be back in our lives,
Right.
you know, get back to like what we need. When they come out and they find that they have, you know, a nice bed and a loft and a full kitchen and full bath, I found a lot of people, you kind of hear them talking to themselves like, why are we living in such a large house? Like, you know, 450 square feet is pretty much all we need. And so, yeah, it's a very kind of simple way to live.
Do you think you've converted a few people?
Yeah, I think so. And certainly there's a lot of workshoppers that stay in the yurts, and it's starting to make me realize that, you know, housing is not some sort of magic bullet or something or fixed solution. So, you know, if you go do the Earthship Academy, they'll just say Earthships.
Right.
But maybe there's different housing types that are better for different people.
Right. Yeah.
And we just don't really have much exploration in that.
Or an acceptance. It's kind of
Yeah, sure.
the old American dream that it just doesn't work anymore. It worked fine for a while, I suppose, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big thing there also is code. Code is it's such atrophy of our ability to pivot. And there's certain code that definitely makes sense and was made in places for specific reasons, you know, whether you're in a tornado area or whatnot. But I don't know how we can still put double wides in tornado paths or all of these houses that are super flammable in these areas. And that's okay.
right.
But somehow you can't do an Earthship or you can't do a yurt.
yeah.
I mean, because if you could be in a yurt, and if, you know, you did a composting toilet, and I talk about this in the workshops, we kind of break down costs. So I kind of went deluxe with the yurts because I was going to be catering towards people staying here nightly during the summer. Also trying to create affordable housing during the winter, so people that would be able to live at 9,000 feet in the winter and want to be here versus maybe going to an outhouse or something every time they need to do that.
Right.
So that just made sense for me for what I'm trying to build. But if people wanted to, you know, have a more simple design, you could definitely do that and, you know, build a home for 25,000.
Yeah.
That was a yurt.
Yeah.
And that would make sense for a lot of people in different situations.
Yeah.
And then I would argue, like, okay, if you build a home and it's a home, like, how long does it take for you to pay that off if you're paying $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 a month in rent? You know, if you pay off that home in 2 years, you know, that might be totally worth it.
A lot of freedom there.
Yeah, a lot of freedom.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And so we're running into, you know, crazy code where you have to have a minimum square footage, and it's archaic.
Sure
I don't
is.
think it makes sense, but that's until people get into public office at a local level and start changing it. It's something that we certainly have to deal with.
Maybe we can get some issues on ballots or something to change code. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends. I always teach about figuring out kind of what counties have pockets of freedom. That's zones where we have a more relaxed building code and where you still can build much of what you would want to build for a home. Certainly, if you're trying to build something in Denver, there's going to be a lot more code than if you're out in the country
So on that note, if I'd met you earlier, I would have been totally coming to one of your workshops, and my kid would have come with me, and we would have built a yurt or a Earthship. I definitely was looking into alternative ways, but bought my house when I was in my early 30s, and anyway, was recently looking at places where I could maybe put a tiny house, because we've got this big yard in Denver. I had kept my Denver house, and I have a big yard there. But the further away from Denver you get, the looser the codes, for sure. Doing anything alternative in Denver was just prohibitive.
Yeah.
Just unfortunate.
And some of it makes sense based on densities and how things were laid out initially, or, sewer lines or roadways, how much traffic they can carry. All of these things are built into code. And so it's not something where we can just say, oh, there should be no code.
Right. No, there's got to be a happy medium, don't you think? Yeah.
I think we can definitely re-look at a lot of things, and we should encourage our representatives to do so, and get it back to the place where we're actually working for people and not realtors and banks.
And
which
it's money itself, yeah.
Yeah, is kind of where we're at right now, because when there's that much code in so many places, you're not allowed to touch the shovel. You're not allowed to change anything, because the moment you do, we're going to red tag it. We're going to fine you. We're going to it's not feasible, right?
Yeah.
But right now there's still the ability to go to a land office and talk to them before you buy. And so that's kind of one of my, I do a permitting lecture, what we do on a day, and that specifically is what is the process of trying to buy a piece of land, and just making sure that you have all of the knowledge and tools to know that what you're getting into is what you want to be getting into, versus what we say is buying the dream and living the nightmare of having this aspiration of building your own home somewhere, and then realizing you're not allowed to, and then suddenly you're stuck with this thing.
A lot of information before you.
Yeah, and it's not rocket science, but there is a lot of it, and some of the lessons that I've learned, I call them nuggets of gold. I paid for them with real money, and if I had learned to do it differently, that would be awesome if I had a little bit more information. And so if I can disseminate this information to others in a meaningful way so that they don't have to do the same mistakes twice, then now we're making progress.
Yeah. Would you say it's because, did those things happen because it wasn't easy to find the information to begin with?
Yeah. So, for instance, drilling a well, you get a company, and most companies, they're there to do the job. They're not there to do the job in a design or have your back in a way. They're there to show up and do the job.
Get it done, yeah.
So they show up and they say, well, where do you want the well? And so here would be nice. But I don't know anything about kind of topography and how wells work and whatnot. And so if you live in a valley with a water table, okay, most wells are probably at a certain depth. But the best way I've learned is that when you're in any sort of topography, water flows downstream, above ground, underground in the same fashion, but it's through different substrates, right? It'll find it's like underground rivers flowing through. It would rather go through sand than rock, right? Yeah. And so that makes sense. But I didn't know that until we're 200 feet down on a hole, and they say, "Hey, do you want to use this other guy that we talk to sometimes?" Well, why are we having this conversation now?
Yeah.
When I'm already paying you so much per foot, and I was stuck with that dry hole.
Oh.
And this other guy comes out and shows me some things, and 20 feet away, you got to drill here.
Oh.
And I couldn't believe it, 20 feet away from the spot we were. And lo and behold, there was water there. So
did they already try it in one spot and it wasn't successful?
Well, the hole that they did, there was no water in it. But and you're on the hook for that.
But because they did it. They dug the hole. Okay, gotcha.
But so there's a lot of things about that you can start learning. It's okay, well, you can also go on the Department of Natural Resources website, DNR, and find all the neighboring wells of a property that you might be interested in and see how deep they are.
Yeah.
And that's before you buy, hopefully. Yeah. Because if people are going 100 feet, that's very different than 1,000 feet.
Right.
That's tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So having these nuggets of gold or these pieces of information is really important. when you can get it.
You're the gold now. You've got the gold information.
Well, hopefully we're just trying to find a way to disseminate it.
Right.
I think community need is so important that it's not something that we should gatekeep. I think we do a really good job in society of gatekeeping. I went through the struggle and the difficulty, so therefore you should struggle as well. And right now, that's not helping any of us. It's not working.
No.
And when we divide ourselves into all of these groups, the banks win ultimately. And so I think it's really trying to bring power back to the people in a meaningful way is what we need to be focusing on.
I wholeheartedly agree. So when do you think the Earthship will be? When will you move in?
I'm trying to have it habitable by the end of May, upcoming.
Nice.
So about 5-6 months.
Okay. So will you continue doing workshops, or what's the future plans?
Yeah, so I think it's actually getting to one of the more exciting bits. Maybe that's my biology or ecologist mindset, but the infrastructure was a lot, and that's just, you have to build enough to have space for people to be comfortably. So with the yurts kind of up and running in that capacity, the idea is to start focusing on long-term housing, affordable housing. And so that was the Earthship. And so the Earthship has a multiple bedrooms, so we can have multiple people. And then we can start doing food production. So a little bit of permaculture and animal husbandry, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, what kind of animals?
I think goats and sheep would be interesting. There's a lot of history that shows a lot of first people to be around this area were mostly involved in sheep and goats. I think they might have a better way to live among the land than just cattle. Cattle's kind of our answer for everything.
Yeah, big impact, yeah.
Yeah, so they're smaller ungulates that would have smaller impacts.
Yeah.
Between the two, you can do wool, you can do soap, you can do cheese, you can do milk. There's a lot of end products that come from that instead of just straight dairy. And yeah, so as we can keep going here, you start creating a bigger capacity for more people to have varied jobs or varied interests and learn about more things, because food production is a whole nother side of things that we ultimately need to take ownership of again. I think if we want to make it.
If we want to make it. And the Earthship includes a greenhouse in it. So
yeah, the front hallway. So the way the Earthship works is it has the thermal mass behind the build, and then you insulate that actually into the build. So that 150 tons is got insulation behind it. And then you have two sets of glass. So the outside glass and then the hallway that connects all your rooms to your living space. And so then the passive solar charges your living space and the thermal mass all day. And then at night, once you kind of have things buttoned up, the heat will slowly go to the greenhouse and then slowly outside. Okay. So you're slowing that down.
Yeah, nice.
So you're creating a comfort zone, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in the warmer months, you'll have outdoor gardens and...
Yeah, you can open it up and then you can do your annuals and whatnot. But yeah, the greenhouse would be a really good place for winter greens, and we'll certainly be experimenting with that.
Very exciting. I would hope you're proud of what you're doing. You're doing a really cool thing. Is there any particular feature that is unique to your Earthship?
Yeah, I mean, if you ever build a home, you're going to have your fingerprints all over.
Yeah, yeah.
All in the mistakes and your choices and all of the things. So, yeah, there's no two owner-built homes alike.
I like that, yeah.
Where you might, very well see similar housing for traditional housing.
Looks exactly the same sometimes.
Right.
So do you like that?
Yeah, that mine's unique?
Yes.
I think the design choices all have a purpose for mine. And again, going towards simplicity, I think it's really important to focus in on that, because when you look at kind of feedback cycles, this more simple you can make something, the more it will like positively feedback in your life. So if you can build a really affordable home and you're not working on a 30-year mortgage, then that money, you know, after those maybe 7 years or something, that's all coming back to you.
Yeah.
The more simple and the more streamlined you can kind of make your life, the more that's going to positively feed back into your life.
It sure sounds like a good idea.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, life is already very complicated.
You're right.
So-
Even I'm more so than ever, I think. And, you know, as I'm talking to you, the last couple of people I interviewed, that there was a similar stream going through it, even though they do different things, you know.
Right.
But I think that's cool. I must be hitting the nail on the head for cool people that are choosing to live in a simpler, ultimately happier way, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I think that simplicity kind of gives you more time for then the things that truly matter.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think is probably associated with happiness, yeah.
And to me, I mean, this just all feels good, you know, because it's not continuing this cycle that is really self-destructive if we continue to do it, clearly. So
Yeah. So it's all gone way slower than
right. Patience.
one would hope. But, you know, those are good things, always take time. And I know that for the people that have been here on the workshop, that certainly each of them has been super excited leaving here and felt a little more empowered to maybe make the leap themselves somewhere down the road.
That too.
And it might not even be in necessarily building their own home, but it could be just a career choice.
Sure.
Or working within their community. We talk about time banking as a very
Right.
strong tool.
Do you want to give a quick overview of that?
Yeah, I guess the time banking is one of the things that I kind of came across. So when I was working on getting the yurts up, they're not crazy complicated, but for instance, the center ring's like 350 pounds.
Oh.
Like getting that up 14 feet, hovering in the air by yourself suddenly becomes like a bit of a magic trick, right?
Yeah.
If you have 4 people, it becomes a lot easier.
Right.
So I had a good friend that was a builder in the Slide area, and found that we just enjoyed working with each other. And yeah, he'd come help me on projects, and then I would go help him on his projects, and just started realizing that there's a really strong amount of power to that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can imagine that if I worked for 9 hours by myself and then I worked with him for 4.5, that we'd, you know, do about the same amount of work. But that's not at all true.
Right.
Because if somebody else can hold the other side of the board or hand things to you while you're on a ladder, it just goes a lot faster.
Right.
So instead of, you know, 4.5 hours, you probably do the same amount of work in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if we can do that on my project and then go and help work on his project and do the same, then we're both suddenly doing much better for ourselves. The more you delve into this kind of concept, the more benefits you start realizing.
I would assume some of this just naturally happened hundreds of years ago anyway, because people had to. There was no other way.
Well, I think that's actually how people used to live, right?
Yeah.
So they used to say the ideal community was about 150 people.
Okay.
And you had division of labor, and we're talking First Nations groups at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you have hunters, you have builders, you have gatherers, you have farmers, you have people working on clothing, somebody doing the medicine person.
Right.
These are really strong communities that used to exist. And if you look at modern day capitalism, I would argue that the intention is to pretty much segregate us.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of effort saying, okay, everybody deserves or should have the American dream, their own house, right? There's no idea about community living. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, again, with code, you're not allowed to have community living. You're not allowed. I think Colorado may have just passed a law that says you're allowed to have
Certain amount. Yeah. Certain
people
number.
in a home that are not from the same family.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, why is this a law?
I know.
But yeah, so everybody has to have their own home.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to the market for everything. You should go to the market for daycare, for dog care, for groceries, for everything. And there's this huge true crime on Netflix. You don't know your neighbor. They're all, rapists and evil people.
Oh, because
And so
too
there's,
much of that,
and there's never been a bigger loneliness epidemic than there is now. And community is the thing that actually sets us free. The ability to come together and support each other and help each other and give each other fair value for our time.
It seems like it's a novel concept right now. Community, I've just felt it literally slipping from my hands in my life unless I actively work on keeping it going in my life, and it's so sad and weird that it's not natural anymore. You have to kind of work at it.
Yeah. So I came to the conclusion that people are having a very difficult time being told what to do right now because everybody's telling them what to do. And the first thing that we do when people tell us what to do is we shut down. So I was like, okay, well, if I can build a community that's sustainable and grows its own food and supports itself by example, then people will seek it out. And when people seek it out and say, hey, how are you doing this? That's a very different question than having an argument with someone about what they should do.
Right.
And as soon as people seek it out, they're open to it because they're asking the question, how did this happen?
And they maybe heard about you or saw something on Instagram or something. This is a very similar comment that Anna Maria made. I just posted that episode about the way that she teaches is not, like you just said, telling people. They see her behavior or see how she handles difficulty, and they ask her, how do you do that?
Right.
And it sounds very similar to what you're talking about, that you're doing this, and if somebody's curious about it, they come to you.
Right.
And they want to learn more, which is
Right.
a different method than you going around saying, hey, you should do this, I guess.
Right. And so then I guess the example would be, would you rather be at a party arguing with one person about something and spend an hour trying to convince them that the earth is round or something? Or would you rather be in a round table discussion with 4 people about how to make things better?
Right.
And those are 2 very different nights, and they result in 2 very different outcomes.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, we just, it's better to spend one's time trying to work towards the benefit of each other.
Well, and each person taking a turn to lecture the other person about what they think, whereas a round table with several people taking turns and listening and making comments rather than just telling, lecturing. There is a difference. I think it's important to point that out.
Sure.
Yeah. It's, again, something kind of simple, but it's not being looked at very carefully, I feel like.
People are very busy
Yeah.
because they're paying off 30-year mortgages. And, it gets to the point where we're so busy working to try and survive that we're ceasing to kind of ask ourselves, is there another way here? Is there another way that makes sense? And I think there's a lot of forces at work to convince us that there isn't as well.
Yeah, we gotta spread the word. And even though some people might at first think about, building an Earthship, doing your own gardening, that sounds like a lot of work. However, I mean, once you get it all going, you have been working very hard at this, but you have the time to travel. You're not necessarily tied down by one particular job. You're able to take work when you need it and work on the Earthship. And then ultimately, I'm assuming you won't have to do a whole lot other than maintain this.
Yeah, I mean...
Is that a goal, or is that...
I think work is also an interesting concept in itself. We're being sold work as this idea that you need to do this job, and then when you're 65, you can retire. You can stop doing the job. And then you can do whatever you want. But, I graduated in 2009, right at the height of the crash. And I was watching on TV how they're telling everybody, you can't retire
You're right.
because your pension's gone. So
Yeah.
you need to give us another 10 years.
Mm.
And there's kind of this mirage of stopping work to do something. And I think a lot of people, maybe they don't like their jobs, especially at what corporate America offers us, because those jobs aren't things that are impacting their community. You know, it might be rewarding work for them, and it can be meaningful work for them. I don't want to take that away from people. But they might find they enjoy their work a lot more if it was something that was directly benefiting their community.
Yeah.
And they enjoy it so much that it might be something that you actually don't want to stop, kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
I really do enjoy building things with a tangible ability to look back on the day and see something that was built,
Yeah.
however small it was. It's done now. And yeah, there will be this idea of, you know, maintaining and running gardens. But yeah, you slowly work towards this thing that starts yielding like your return, right?
Yeah.
So if I build this house, then I have a forever home, and 3 other people have a forever home, or a home for a while, or annual leases or something, and there's some residual income. Or maybe if I start a family, other people can live there if they're supporting the idea of child care or dog care.
Right.
Well, I have a dog, and the ability to leave the dog with someone else who's theirs, you know, that solves that problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it slowly is yielding more and more fruit,
Yeah.
which is why I keep trying to plant fruit trees. 'Cause
How's that going?
the most literal definition of,
Yeah.
you know, plant a tree early and then have fruit.
The rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it.
So
Fabulous. Yeah. Is there any other things you'd like people to know about this project?
well, it's ongoing, and like I was talking about archetypes earlier, you know, it doesn't necessarily end with an Earthship. I'm really interested in hempcrete. I think there's ways to achieve the tire aspects of a build without maybe doing the tire work. And there's a lot of other builders that are out there doing alternative ideas, and I think it's just more important than ever for us to step out of the box of what we think is our options of what we're able to do. I've learned and become a family member with a large van life community. People who didn't have really housing as an option and are still kind of meandering around the country and trying to find a home that makes sense for them.
Yeah.
That's not that 30-year mortgage. When you start seeing other people living these alternative lives, I think it just makes things a lot simpler. It doesn't have to be this like complicated thing where we sign up for all of the subscriptions and then struggle in the debt to try and pay for it all.
Yeah.
You know, and if we drive home the simplicity of life at its core of what we need versus what we want, we don't need a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you do need shelter and food, and those things can be met in meaningful ways. I think when we get to all these auxiliary things and keeping up with the Joneses, that we start getting ourselves in trouble of running a race that we did not train for.
No, that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, or it doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't
you know?
go anywhere. It's like a
Yeah.
treadmill. Yeah.
Yeah, so if people wanted to find more, they can go to Yurts at ponchapass.com.
Yeah.
That's where we the offerings for either doing nightly stays, coming checking out, or a workshop, or whatnot. Yeah, we're working more on the socials, trying to convert that more to an educational aspect, which is
Awesome.
coming up probably here shortly. The Earthship's at a really good spot right now where a lot of it is built, but it's also all revealed, so you can see it all.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to start documenting it properly and sharing that with people so that they
It's
can.
just beautiful. We were driving up the dirt road. It's kind of behind this hill, and it's way bigger than I thought it was. It's just real pretty, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but the idea was to try and build like
I mean, it's not a McMansion or anything, but it's
housing so that two couples could live under one roof. If we can do it for ourselves, we can build community for ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of just developers getting a fee and then leaving the homes to whoever occupies them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you have the satisfaction that you did it your way, and you did it in an earth-friendly way, and you developed community and all those boxes, as we said.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing learning process. You know, there's no right answer again. So I keep learning and trying to stay open to that process so that you don't fall for this fallacy of there's one way or the highway kind of mentality. I think that's where it gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
So
agree.
part of the workshop, everyone who comes actually has to do a tiny presentation.
Yeah.
So I present throughout the weeks on these larger concepts. But I think everybody has something very meaningful to share.
Cool.
And comes from very unique backgrounds. Everyone's background is unique.
Right.
And then by definition has something unique to share. And that's often one of my favorite parts of the workshop is hearing all these diverse people talk about just a myriad of I've had people sing, I've had people play music, I've had people guide meditations, I've had
a variety of
people discuss cryptocurrency, I've had people discuss climbing and
whatever their
their passions
knowledge
and
passion,
their knowledge and how they interpret that.
Neat.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to learn something different also.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, as a former teacher, I love that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sharing. The kids knew that every day they could get up and share, and they could get up and tell us something and feel smart. They know they're the expert for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just the teacher. We're all learning together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish we had more of that in our modern world.
Yeah. Well, let's keep working on it, Chris.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm with you. Well, I think I'm going to close out and let you go have some dinner and rest. And thank you so much for updating us on this project.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me on, and we will talk down the road.
Absolutely. I encourage everybody to check it out. Yurts at ponchapass.com.
Yurts at ponchapass.com.
Yeah, check it out, and I'll put stuff on my website as well.
Fun.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All the best.
Welcome to Nude Foods Market, where we make plastic-free grocery shopping convenient, easy, joyful, and local. We have everything from produce, snacks, meat, and fresh bread to home care, body care, and ready-made meals. The big difference is that our deeply researched organic and local groceries come pre-packaged in returnable glass jars. You shop just like a regular store. The only difference is that instead of putting all that packaging into landfill when you're done with it, you bring it back to us to be reused hundreds more times. Visit our stores in Denver and Boulder and get $10 off your first shop. Go to nudefoodsmarket.com/CO Soul to claim your coupon. We're locally owned, women owned, and working hard to fix our broken food system. So hope you can pop in and check us out soon.